She opened her eyes and stopped breathing. The room, usually a museum of perfectly preserved stagnation, looked like it had been hit by a blizzard. White feathers floated lazily through the air, drifting down to settle on the Persian rugs. Antique silk pillows lay disemboweled on the floor. A $50,000 Ming vase was tipped on its side, miraculously unbroken, rolling gently back and forth. And in the center of the storm, lying flat on his back, was the billionaire, Elias Sterling, the man who hadn't smiled in 5 years, the man whose heart was rumored to be made of the same marble as his foyer. He was staring at the ceiling. Sitting squarely on his chest was Ty, wearing a green t-shirt stained with grape juice. Holding Elias's limp left hand was Sam, and kneeling beside his head, pressing a bright pink plastic stethoscope against the billionaire's temple, was Leo. "Shh," Leo whispered, his brow furrowed in professional concentration. "I can hear the sad coming out." Elias didn't push them off. He didn't roar for security. He didn't move a muscle. Instead, tears, hot, silent, and endless, were streaming horizontally from the corners of his eyes, disappearing into his hair. "Nia," his voice cracked. It was a sound like dry leaves breaking underfoot. Nia took a stumbling step forward, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Mr. Sterling, get off him! Boys, move right now!" "No."
"Please help our daughter get to 1,000 subscribers."
Yeah. Kindly hit subscribe immediately. God bless you.
Elias rasped. He lifted a hand, stopping her. "Stay!" He looked at her then, upside down, his eyes red and raw. "He asked me." Elias swallowed hard, the Adam's apple bobbing in his throat. "He asked me why my house is so sad." To understand why the coldest man in America was lying on his floor, covered in duck feathers and weeping, you have to understand that 8 hours ago this was just a Tuesday. 8 hours earlier, Nia was losing the war. The war was happening in apartment 4B. It was a small, cramped battlefield, smelling of burnt toast and desperation. Cartoons blasted from the TV at a volume that made the walls vibrate. "Leo, stop hitting your brother with the spoon. Tie shoes. Where are your shoes?" Nia was a blur of motion, a general fighting on 3 fronts. She was brushing crumbs off a shirt with one hand while tying a sneaker with the other. Her phone rang, a shrill alarm cutting through the cartoon explosions. She wedged it between her shoulder and ear. "Sarah, you're late. Mr. Sterling's flight lands tonight. I need to prep the—" "Nia, I can't come." Sarah's voice was thick with tears. "It's appendicitis. I'm at the ER. They're taking me into surgery." The world stopped. The cartoons, the screaming, the clanking spoons, it all faded into a high-pitched ringing in Nia's ears. "Sarah." Nia gripped the counter. Her eyes fell on the bright red envelope sitting next to the fruit bowl. Final notice. "I can't miss work. You know the agency policy. 1 missed shift during probation and I'm out. If I get fired—" She didn't finish the sentence. "If I get fired, we're on the street." She looked at the triplets. Leo was currently wearing a pot as a helmet. Sam was humming loudly to the toaster. Ty was trying to feed the goldfish a Cheerio. They were loud, they were messy, they were everything Elias Sterling hated. "I have no choice," she whispered. At the mansion, silence wasn't just a preference, it was a religion. Elias Sterling walked through the front doors like a storm front. The air pressure dropped when he entered a room. He paused in the foyer, his head tilting slightly. "Fire him," he said. His assistant, Marcus, blinked. clutching a clipboard to his chest. "Sir? The gardener? He's just trimming the hedges." "He's whistling," Elias said, his voice flat and dead. "I can hear it through the glass. Silence is not a suggestion, Marcus. It is a requirement." He walked away, leaving the assistant pale and trembling. Elias Sterling believed that if he could just make the world quiet enough, the ghosts of his wife and unborn child would finally leave him alone. But silence just made the memories louder. 30 minutes later, Nia's beat-up sedan rolled through the golden gates. In the back seat, 3 lumps huddled under a heavy wool blanket. "Okay," Nia whispered, her eyes darting to the security cameras scanning the driveway. "Listen to me. This is a spy mission, top secret, level 10 clearance." The blanket lifted. 3 identical faces popped up, eyes wide with the thrill of espionage. "Are there lasers?" Leo asked, breathless. "Yes," Nia lied without hesitation. "Invisible lasers. If you make a sound, the lasers get you. If you touch the walls, the lava gets you. You have to be ninjas." She drove around to the servants' entrance, her heart thumping a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Just one day, she told herself. Just keep them hidden for 8 hours. She rushed them into the West Wing. It was the part of the house the staff called the Mausoleum. Elias hadn't set foot in these hallways for 5 years. White dust sheets covered the furniture like ghosts. The air was stale and cold. Nia ushered them into the library. It was massive, soundproof, and terrifyingly expensive. "You stay in here," she ordered, handing out 3 iPads like they were rations in a bunker. "Headphones on, volume low. You do not open this heavy door until Mommy comes back. Do you promise?" "We promise," they chorused in a whisper. Nia kissed 3 foreheads, 1, 2, 3. She stepped out into the hallway and pulled the heavy oak door shut until it clicked. She leaned her back against the wood and exhaled a long, shaky breath. Safe. She thought she was safe. She thought the West Wing was a fortress of solitude that Elias had abandoned forever. But Nia forgot one thing. Grief is unpredictable. The sound of tires crunching on gravel drifted through the window. Nia ran to the glass and looked down. Her blood turned to ice. A black limousine was pulling up to the main entrance. The driver was opening the back door. Elias was back. He wasn't supposed to be home for 3 days. And when Elias came home early, he didn't go to his office. He didn't go to the kitchen. He always went to the one place where he could be truly, completely alone. The black limousine sat in the driveway like a hearse waiting for a body. From the second-floor window, Nia watched the driver step out. He walked around the car, his movements agonizingly slow, and opened the rear door. A polished black shoe stepped onto the gravel. Then the sharp crease of a navy suit pant. Then Elias Sterling stood up, buttoning his jacket with a sharp, precise movement. Nia didn't breathe. She looked at her watch. The Triplets had been in the West Wing for exactly 12 minutes. They had iPads. They had snacks. They had a promise to be ninjas. But 6-year-old boys are not ninjas. They are ticking time bombs. Nia spun around. She had to intercept him. She had to keep him on the ground floor. She had to be the perfect invisible maid, while her heart tried to punch its way out of her chest. Downstairs. The foyer, the front door, opened. The air pressure in the house seemed to drop. "Sir," Marcus the assistant stammered, trailing behind Elias like a nervous puppy. We didn't expect you until Friday." The staff is still prepping the— My head, Elias said. He didn't shout. He didn't have to. His voice was a low rumble that vibrated in the floorboards. He tossed his briefcase onto a chair worth more than Nia's car. I have a migraine, Marcus. The light on the plane was too loud. That was Elias. He could hear light. He could feel noise. Nia stepped out from the kitchen shadows. She kept her head down, hands clasped in front of her white apron. The mask was on. Welcome home, Mr. Sterling, she said softly. Elias stopped. He turned his cold grey eyes toward her. For a second, he looked confused, as if he didn't recognize her. To him, she was just furniture that moved. Tea, he said. Earl Grey, no sugar. And close the drapes. It's too bright in here. Yes, sir. Nia turned to the kitchen. Her hands were shaking so badly she had to grip the marble counter to steady them. He has a migraine, she thought, panic rising in her throat. When he has a migraine, he wants total darkness. He wants the quietest room in the house. The West Wing library. She could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Tick. Tock. It sounded like a countdown. She prepared the tea. The china rattled against the saucer. She forced herself to breathe. In, out. Just keep him downstairs. Tell him the West Wing is being fumigated. Tell him the roof leaked. She walked back into the living room with the tray. Elias was sitting on the sofa, his head in his hands. He looked smaller than he did in the magazines. He didn't look like a tyrant. He looked like a man in agony. Nia set the tray down. Your tea, sir. Elias reached for the cup. His hand brushed hers. His skin was ice cold. Thump. The sound came from the ceiling. Directly above them, it was a dull, heavy thud, like a small body jumping off a chair. Elias froze. The cup stopped halfway to his lips. Nia's blood ran cold. What was that? Elias whispered. His eyes darted to the ceiling. Nia forced a smile. It felt like her face was made of plaster. The pipe, sir. The weather change. Old houses settle. I've been hearing it all morning. Elias listened. Giggle. It was faint, muffled by layers of expensive insulation. But it was unmistakable. A high-pitched, joyous giggle. Elias set the cup down. Clink. Pipes don't laugh, Nia. He stood up. The migraine seemed to vanish, replaced by a predator's focus. There is someone in my house. Sir, no! Nia stepped in front of him. It was a reflex, a mother protecting her cubs. It's probably a raccoon in the attic. I'll call pest control. You sit, drink your tea. Elias looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, he saw the terror in her eyes. He saw the way her chest was heaving. You're lying, he said. He stepped around her. He moved fast, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Mr. Sterling, please! Nia chased him, her invisible Maid mask shattering with every step. Don't go up there, please! Elias didn't listen. He reached the landing. He marched down the long shadowed hallway toward the double oak doors of the West Wing. He reached the doors. He grabbed the handles. Nia stopped 10 feet away. She couldn't move. It was over. The eviction, the firing, the police. It was all happening now. Elias threw the doors open and stormed inside. The doors swung shut behind him. The hallway, the long wait. Nia stood in the hallway. She squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the explosion. She waited for the roar. Who are these children? She waited for the terrified screams of Leo, Sam and Ty. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes, silence. The silence was worse than the yelling. The silence was heavy. It felt like the house was holding its breath. Why isn't he yelling? Nia crept forward. Her legs felt like lead. She reached the heavy doors. She had to know. She pushed them open, just a crack. The scene that met her eyes made no sense. The library, usually a place of deathly stillness, was destroyed. It looked like a pillow factory had exploded. White feathers coated everything, the books, the lamps, the floor. And there, in the middle of the mess, was the monster. Elias was lying on his back on the rug. He wasn't moving. Leo was kneeling beside his head. Sam was sitting near his feet. Ty was sitting directly on the billionaire's chest. Nia gasped, pushing the door fully open. "Boys!" Elias didn't flinch. He just stared up at the ceiling. "Nia." His voice was barely a sound. Nia rushed forward, grabbing Ty's arm. "Get off him! I am so sorry, sir. Stop," Elias said. He sat up slowly. Feathers fell from his suit jacket. He looked at the 3 boys, then he looked at Nia. But he wasn't looking at her like a boss looks at a maid. He was looking at her like he was seeing a ghost. The one in the blue shirt, Elias pointed a shaking finger at Sam. He was humming. Nia pulled the boys behind her, shielding them with her body. "He hums when he's scared." I told him to stop. "No," Elias whispered. He stood up. He walked toward Nia. She flinched, but he didn't reach for her. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a white handkerchief. He wiped his eyes. He was humming Beautiful Dreamer. Nia froze. Yes, it's the only song that calms him down. Elias took a step closer. The distance between them vanished. The power dynamic shifted violently. He wasn't the billionaire anymore. He was just a man who remembered something painful. 5 years ago, Elias said, his voice trembling. "Street Jude's hospital. The maternity ward waiting room. My wife was in surgery. It was taking too long. I was shouting at the doctors. I was threatening to buy the hospital and fire everyone if they didn't save her." Nia's breath caught in her throat. She remembered that night. Every nurse in the city remembered that night. The night the billionaire lost everything. There was a nurse, Elias continued, staring right into Nia's soul. "She didn't care about my money. She didn't care that I was yelling. She just sat on the bench next to me. She didn't say, 'It will be okay.' She just sat there, and she hummed." Elias looked at Sam, who was peeking out from behind Nia's leg. She hummed Beautiful Dreamer, so I wouldn't hear the flatline monitor in the next room. Elias looked back at Nia. The recognition hit him like a physical blow. "You were wearing a mask that night. Your hair was different. But I know that hum." Nia lowered her head. The secret was out. Not just the secret of the children, but the secret of who she really was. She wasn't just a maid who needed a paycheck. She was the woman who had watched him break apart 5 years ago. "I didn't think you'd remember," Nia whispered. "You were in shock." "I remember everything," Elias said. "I remember that you were the only person who didn't look at me like a bank account. You looked at me like a human being." He looked down at the boys, at the feathers, at the chaos they had brought into his tomb. "Why are they here, Nia?" Nia looked at him. She had 2 choices: lie and try to save her job, or tell the truth and risk everything. She looked at the Iceman, who was standing in a pile of feathers with tears drying on his face. "Because I have nowhere else to go," she said. "And because when I walked into this house, I felt the same thing I felt in that waiting room. It's too quiet here, Elias. You're drowning in the quiet. Elias stared at her. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. He held her fate in his hands. He could fire her. He could call the police. He could throw them back onto the street. It was his right. It was his rule. He looked at Ty, who was holding a feather up to the light. "They broke my vase," Elias said softly. Nia closed her eyes. "Here it comes. And," Elias continued, "they fixed my head." He touched his temple. The migraine was gone. Elias looked at Nia, and for the first time in 5 years, the ice cracked. "Don't clean this up," he said. Nia thought she had saved her job. She thought the worst was over, but she was wrong. Because in a house this big, secrets have a way of echoing, and Elias wasn't the only one watching. We see an older woman, elegant and cruel, watching the security camera footage on a tablet. She zooms in on Nia's face. "Woman. She's the nurse? The one who saw him cry? She has to go." "You are Nia. You just realized your boss remembers you from the worst night of his life. He just showed you mercy. But you know his mother is coming to visit tomorrow, and she hates you. Do you run away tonight while you still can? Or do you stay and fight for the man who is slowly coming back to life?"